the critical explanation or interpretation of a body of work. We examine the fandoms of young and old, looking from origin to ending and everywhere in between. They say you never truly know someone until you know what they are passionate about. Sit back and buckle up. Welcome to the Exegesis.
What's going on, everybody? All right, I've been having some audio difficulties, so please, if you're in the chat, let me know if you can hear me. I think the mic is going. Let me double check it over here again. Audio looks like it's going. So hopefully everybody can hear me. If not, let me know. Say, hey, no audio or something, and I'll figure it out. But while I'm waiting for those comments, all right, Amanda can hear me. So that's good. Well, hey, it's Thursday night. How's everybody doing? Hopefully everyone's doing well. End of the week almost. Tomorrow is Friday. Saturday, we have a really cool event going on. Solar eclipse. Here where I am in New Mexico, we are actually going to get a full ring of fire. So a total eclipse, but you'll get to see the edges of the sun around it. So that should be pretty cool. I think they said somewhere around 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time to around 10:30-ish, maybe 11, right in the late morning. So pretty. Sorry. Yes. But yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. We got our solar glasses when we were at the fair last week. I was thinking about maybe getting some pizza and some drinks and going out to the pool and checking that out with the kids that are going to be here. Some of my kids are going to be working, so they'll have a different perspective on it. But I think our whole complex here at this apartment is going to try to gather in one spot and watch it together. So that's going to be pretty cool. Well, I had a whole bunch of news stuff and clips and whatnot, but I logged in today. All my notes and everything have disappeared. Not sure where they are. So yeah, we're going to go right into the main topic here. I even had a really cool graphic for dragons here. Sorry, it sounds like somebody's knocking my wall down. Dragons in pop culture. Everywhere you look now, dragons have really come to the surface. So for you guys in the chat, when you hear dragons, what type of pop culture do you think of? Movies, comics, books, TV shows, anything. What do you guys think of? And while you're responding there in the chat, and I'll get to those answers, I actually posted a poll in Twitter. Now, of course, I don't have a lot of followers that some other shows have, but you know what? My friends came through. So, well, where did that go? No, of course, there it is. All right. So I posted a poll. It said, what movies, shows, books have some of the best use of dragons? And I listed some choices. If you have other choices, go ahead and comment them. Let me know what some of your favorites are. So the first ones that popped into my head, of course, How to Train a Dragon. And I'll tell you a cool story about that in a little bit. Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and Dragonheart. Those were the four choices that I put out there. People didn't have to pick those, and some didn't. But the results of the poll, of course, Game of Thrones, the latest and greatest of the shows to feature dragons, won, but only with 42.9%. Second place was Harry Potter. We saw dragons quite a bit in the Harry Potter #4, and later again in Deathly Hollows, and that received 35.7% of the vote. Dragonheart, which is an iconic dragon movie, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, got 14.3%, and How to Train a Dragon got 7.1%. So we had one animated show, one movie series, one TV series, and one movie. Well, I guess it's a series. They made several of them. I don't think any of the other Dragon Hearts quite got there as far as the popularity, though. So going back to the chat, when I asked the question here in the chat, we have Amanda with Skyrim. Yes, Skyrim heavily features dragons, and that is one of the best games that are out. Still popular. So many people are still playing Skyrim, and I'll have to look it up just to see when Skyrim came out. Let's see. Skyrim first came out. Wow, November 11th of 2011. 11/11/11 for Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls 5. And here it is. It's 12 years later, and people are still playing this game. So iconic. Yeah, it's really cool. And Danny says Eragon, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is another one. I should have put that on the list, but I didn't. Heavily features dragons. I think there's more dragons in the actual books than there were in the show, but I'm sure budget reasons they could only do so much. But some of the most iconic scenes are with Bard. Actually, that's not Lord of the Rings. That's The Hobbit, with Bard and going up against Smaug. But yes, excellent. Eragon or Aragon. I guess I know they made a movie about it. I never saw the movie. I did read the book, and it was all right. It was pretty good. I know that they kind of skimped on the movie. From what I've heard, there was so much more detail in the book as normal, but and I think he wrote a sequel to that as well. What was his name? Christopher Poloni. Yeah, Ubaldo nailed it right there. Yes, all dragons are awesome, but his favorite is Smaug. They did so well in the Hobbit, bringing Smaug to life, because you don't really see him until the third movie, Battle of the Five Armies. But at the end of the second one, I believe it's the second one. I haven't watched them in a while, but you just have that one eye pop open, and you're like, wow, just the immense size of that. Amanda, with that video game knowledge, Dragon Age series has dragons, especially Inquisition. Absolutely right. But yeah, some of the ones that I've really gone through. I guess one of the first ones that stuck with me would be Dragonheart. That was made in 1996. It was directed by Rob Cohen, written by Charles Edward Pogue, sorry. And it had Dennis Quaid in it, David Thewlis is in it, Diana Meyer, and of course, the silky smooth voice of Sean Connery as the dragon. And like I said, that 1996, man, I was 19, 20. when that came out, and it still brought me back to when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh wow, dragons! Yes, it's absolutely outstanding. The way that they just made it look, it really brought it to life. And it's a movie about the last dragon that's there, and you really feel for this beast, and you come to care for it. And yeah, it's so powerful. Then, of course, even before then, there was another dragon mentioned, and this one was called a luck dragon. Name of this dragon was called Falkor. So, all right, chat, who is it? What's the movie? A luck dragon named Falkor. See if you guys get it. I believe it was actually written in 1979. First English translation that was released in German. English translation was 1983. And then adapted into a film series. There it is, Never Ending Story. Yes, man, I can still hear the theme as Atreyu is riding on the back of Falkor as they go through the land. And yeah, that was such a good movie. I really didn't even think of that as a dragon, but because it looks more like a dog. It's more of a Labrador than a dragon. But who's to say what dragons actually look like? We really don't know, other than what history has told us. Other things, other ones that we've seen. Smaug from The Hobbit we talked about. There was a Dungeons and Dragons movie that featured dragons that was made in the year 2000 with what was the guy's name? Oh, another voice that's just hard to forget, and of course I can't think of it. Jeremy Irons played Protheon and tried to control the dragons. Man, it's such a good movie. And of course, one of the ones that was mentioned in our chat was a 2002 movie that starred Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale, and that was called Reign of Fire. And of course, the dragons everywhere in that one. But yeah, it's really cool to see how dragons have evolved and even come more commonplace than it's almost the trope when it comes to high fantasy is, does it have a dragon in it? And if it does, okay, well, that qualifies. Even from, Godzilla even had a dragon in it. King Ghidorah was shown in there. It was a two-tailed bipedal dragon, had the large bat-like wings. So yeah, that was pretty cool in the Godzilla universe, whether it's Mothra or the actual Godzilla films. Of course, in television, and I want to get to one more that was named or before. We had Drogon, which was in Game of Thrones, was, I guess, the ultimate dragon that was there. There was, I think, 3. But we had a whole series that was um, based off of dragon lore, and yeah, and it was crazy. And I guess George R. R. Martin is still writing these. HBO's had their series called Age of Dragons, which is, I guess, before Game of Thrones. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see a dragon hatch and then to grow larger, and then next thing you know, this thing is larger than a 757 jet, just going down and just raining death and destruction amongst everything. And yes, Ubaldo. All right, so he talked about this one. We have Mushu, which was in Mulan, voiced by Eddie Murphy. I believe that was another luck dragon based off of the Japanese lore. And they were gathered. They were there to protect their ancestors. Um, and then, of course, there's another animated movie, sort of, that was produced by Disney. And let me see if I can find that one. Here's my list. I don't see it in there, so I'll just go ahead and look it up separately. And that one's called Pete's Dragon. Pete's Dragon was done by Disney. The original was done in 1977. And then, of course, they redid it in 2016, right when, hey, remaking everything was cool. But the cool thing about Pete's Dragon is Pete's Dragon was an animated dragon, but everything else was live action. So it was really cool to see the interaction of the actors, and then you have this really cartoony dragon named Elliot. And yeah, it was such a good movie. I loved watching it growing up. One of my all-time favorites. I'm not even sure if my kids have seen it. If they were running around, I'd ask them, but they're being good and being quiet. So, but yeah, Pete's Dragon, 1977. It's kind of hard to think of them that long ago. And of course, you even see some dragons in newer things such as Transformers. Try to think of other ones that we've seen. Dragon Wars. There are a few television shows other than Game of Thrones that featured some dragons as well. We had there was a TV show that was called Merlin, where we had an ancient dragon called Kilgara that was voiced by John Hurt, and that was imprisoned by Uth Pendragon, which was below Camelot. That was a really cool depiction of one as well. Of course, now we've even seen it pop up. My Little Pony, Vox Machina had some. Quest for Camelot, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Oh, there's Pete's Dragon right there on that list because it was animated. Should have known. Spirited Away is another one that had a dragon in there, and that was so good. If you guys haven't ever seen Spirited Away, go check it out. Absolutely phenomenal movie. It's animated, but it's one that it will cut right to you. And of course, the How to Train Your Dragon series as well. Cool story about How to Train a Dragon is my daughter's band years ago, I guess, when she first started high school. Was it high school or middle school? Middle school, I guess. She was in the band, and they did a marching routine to How to Train Your Dragon. And I listened to that soundtrack more times than any person could or should. It's still great memories though. And of course, they've had two or three others. They have a TV show now. I think it's still going with How to Train a Dragon. But yeah, that was amazing as well. Of course, Mulan. We talked about a little bit. Sleeping Beauty featured Maleficent turning into the purple and black dragon. But yeah, and of course, video games, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Warcraft had some, Guild Wars 2, Bahamut is heavily featured in the Final Fantasy series, Epic Mickey 2. I don't know if you guys have ever played that. Amanda, you might have. Blotworks was the dragon in that one. Spyro and the Skylanders. Of course, Charizard is a dragon in Pokemon. But yeah, there's so many. Secret of Mana had some. Fire Emblem Awakening, Dark Souls. So many. Of course, Dragon's Lair, the video game. It was just, man, so many dragons that we have in pop culture. One of the cool things, and I added this in there, is we have. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Universal Studios in Orlando, but they have, they took it from Harry Potter 7, where a dragon lands on top of Gringotts and then just breathes fire, then takes off and escapes. And in the park, inside the when you're going down the street, you can see Gringotts Bank, and there's a huge dragon that's on there. But rather than me explain it to you, just let me show you.
Skip the lines with undercover tourists, crowd calendars, touring plans, and mobile apps. Stop paying.
So that's the scene in Diagon Alley at Harry Potter World. It's really cool. If you're too close when the dragon breathes the fire, you can actually feel the heat that comes off of it. And yeah, it's so cool to actually see a dragon like almost come to life. It's really, really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on dragons and pop culture, other things that you might have seen that I might not have talked about. Again, I know I went through a lot of them, but yeah, there's so many that are out there now. But we're about halfway through this episode already. The other half I have for you guys is, I always ask this question, since we see such a representation in pop culture of dragons, and dragons have been mentioned even in like ancient Sumeria, what do you call it? The Nebuchadnezzar, trying to think of what the words are difficult, apparently. Mesopotamia. Sumeria, Mesopotamia, China, India, Egypt, Greece, Britain, all have extensive writing about dragons. They take different shapes, they take different forms, they have different characteristics. But in history, we have evidence of this, although we might not see them now. But what do you guys think? Are dragons real? Were they real? Do we see any resemblance to what could have been dragons today? And yeah, so what do you guys think? What about you guys think in the chat? Were dragons real? So I mean, to go on with that, I mean, they might not be fire breathing. They might not be as big of as a house. But I mean, does that mean that it couldn't have? I mean, there's a bombardier beetle that when it wants to escape from something, produces a chemical or chemicals of hydrogen peroxide and hydroquinone, I think, HYDROQUINONE. And when they combine, it creates a spray that heats up to almost 100 degrees Celsius. Now, I'm not going to tell you where that chemical squirts out of, but we have a beetle that can create that much heat when it needs to escape. So who's to say that there wasn't another animal back in the day that couldn't, or that didn't have the ability to produce such chemicals? And if it was a larger animal, larger than a beetle, it might have seemed like it was breathing fire. And yeah, Amanda brought up another great story is St. George versus the dragon. Absolutely. But what type of dragon? I mean, was it a real dragon? Was it something that we have seen before? I mean, when you really think about it, producing something that could burn you, it might not be boiling hot liquid. There's lots of things that spit that cause a chemical reaction, and who knows it? Maybe that's what that was. Maybe it wasn't necessarily fire, but it burned like fire. There are lots of types of animals that do that. And they're like, well, a lot of people are like, oh, well, dragons have to fly. In fact, there's a group of lizards that are in the genus Draco, and they have between their legs, they have flaps of skin that allow them to glide through the air. Now, they don't flap them like a bat, but what happens if, say there was a large lizard and it say it reared up on its legs and spread its arms, and you saw flaps of skin that looked like wings. Who's to say that that wasn't a dragon? There's over 40 species of animals in that group alone, various size and and mannerisms. Who's to say that maybe they didn't? I mean, there's anywhere from bearded dragons to Komodo dragons. I mean, if you think about a Komodo dragon, should somebody happen to have caught one or come across one, it's about 7 foot long. And I have a weight here of in kilograms, and I'm not good on conversion, but 166 kilograms. I mean, even if that's pounds, which a kilogram is more than pound, it's a lizard that is 7 foot long and weighs 166 kilograms. It's got large serrated teeth, a large forked tongue, a lethal venomous bite. I mean, who knows? They definitely could have been. Every country, and I was just about Uvaldo's taking the words out of my. Every country has mythology on dragons. Nearly everyone that has their roots in that era. I don't think there's really too many here in the United States as far as dragons go, other than alligators. But who's to say that that wasn't a dragon of sorts? Who's to say um, it wasn't a dinosaur that, the last remnants or smaller dinosaurs that they had come across? When you look at the skeletons that they found, and then see, you guys read my mind. Amanda says, I think they found a prehistoric skeleton, and that's how the myth started. Could have been a skeleton. It could have been an actual thing. It could have just been, it's like, oh wait, what was we had this battle against this giant lizard or this giant dragon or a small dragon, and then they start digging around and they dig up the skeleton. It's like, oh wow, these things get really big. Who knows? There's so much evidence for it that who's to say that there couldn't have been a dragon at some point. I know that in 2009 they even dug up a set of fossils and they labeled it a sea dragon. It's just because the way that it looked rather than anything. But we don't know what dinosaurs looked like. They could have had wings that disintegrated or whatever. Heck, alligators here in Florida. There was one that was not too long ago. I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago that was walking around with a person in their mouth. It was large. I think 13, 14 foot long. I'm sure if we had no idea of what that was and we happened to stumble across a 13-foot alligator and we had heard rumors of dragons, I bet we would have guaranteed that was going to be a dragon. But of course, now we're more educated or something like that. But yeah, I very well could have. There's lots of evidence to say that they were. Now, of course, stories, especially mythology, gets embellished a lot. So maybe they weren't that big. But yeah, I do believe that at some point there were dragons. They were real. Maybe not what they look like now. Maybe they were innocent. Maybe they were like giant dogs and just so friendly, and they just would rather, lick your face than eat you for dinner. Who knows? You never know. Maybe they saw two animals that were just kind of fighting, and it's like from a distance, oh look, there's an animal down there. Oh wow, it's got large wings, and oh wow, it looks like a lizard. Oh, it's a dragon. Yep. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. Actually, getting ready to wrap up just because, I really didn't have a whole lot to go on, and I lost all my notes, of course. So, trying to hit what I can remember. But yeah, I mean, it's again, we had just to recap some of the shows that we had, whether it's Pete's Dragon, whether it's How to Train a Dragon, Lord of the Rings, whether it's Game of Thrones. Hey, let your imaginations run wild. Here it is. It's October. It's supposed to be that spooky time. It'd be really interesting to get people's take on what they think dragons actually looked like and actually were. But yeah, hey, that's about all I have for this edition of the Exegesis. I hope you guys enjoyed the Dragon Chat. I know it's not quite as robust as the Star Wars chat. I really don't have. I'm normally a lot more prepared for Star Wars than I am dragons, but this is one that I saw and really wanted to get out there. Just shame I lost all my notes, but it's all right. It's probably at work. It's where I leave nearly everything. But yeah, coming up next here in about 15, 30 minutes or so, we're going to have WSTR Radio, and they are going to be talking. Let me see where it went. Sorry, I had it all loaded up, and then of course everything changes. Anyway, so they're going to be talking. I believe they're going to be talking Nightmare Before Christmas 30th anniversary. I believe was what they're going to do. So yeah, it's yes, yep. Across the Universe with 30th anniversary of Nightmare Before Christmas. So you guys go grab a snack, go grab a drink, settle in, get comfy, and talk about Nightmare Before Christmas with WSTR Radio Live. Until next week, which I'm not even sure what I'm talking about next week. I have it written down, but it's way over on the other end. But yeah, so short and sweet tonight. Hope you guys had a good time. We'll catch you on the other side. Have a good night.